All right, these are my custom titanium SCX24 chassis rails. Just came in, I just got them oxidized. This is what it looks like as a raw unit. So on this chassis design, I decided to integrate a battery tray and an electronics tray that slide into these slots on the chassis. And then this was the previous design here. So always making improvements onto the chassis design here. But this first design was intended to be used with all stock Axial SCX24 parts and pieces. So you can see I have plastic trays and stuff still in here, still has the plastic shocks, links, skid, axles, all that. So on this version, I will be upgrading to a flat skid. This is the OGRC flat skid, the Injora links, the Injora stainless drive shaft, and this will be being mounted up to the Lexus GX470 here, and also have some aftermarket wheels, kind of like a T37 replica, gold wheels always. And then this is the MB100 Injora ESC that I'll be using, paired with my FlySky receiver. So the first step I'm going to have to do here is get these running boards mounted up onto the side here, and I'll do my best to keep it all in frame here. These tiny little screws and pieces are sometimes difficult to keep track of, but do our best. And then if you guys have any questions or anything like that, be sure to ask here in the comment section, and do my best to keep up while I'm building the chassis. But yeah, hope everyone's having a good night. It's been snowing here, so it's a perfect opportunity to get some builds done in the warmth of the inside. So there's the running board mounted up to the side, and I'm doing that first because on the flat skid here, for your lower links, you actually insert screws first, and then the rails sit flat against that. So get this other side done. Try not to lose any screws down on the carpet. which are already on the axles, so I'm gonna have to find a screw long enough here. Just kind of get it loosely put together here. Something like that. Then you can start to see the shape that that's going to take. So I'll probably start with this rear axle first because that is going to be the simplest. I also made these little aluminum pieces. These will be the electronics tray mounts, and these slip into the slots on the chassis here. So I can go ahead and start those. Maybe should have put these in first. May have to bend these motor leads. But that's part of these prototypes, is I can only make so much fit together on the computer before having a physical part in my hand. So that goes on there like that. And then this front one will go up there, but get the axles on first. Make sure I get these phased correctly. And now it's not wanting to find this hole. There we go. Man, the drive shaft is wet. Alright, let's do the drive shaft later. Getting these links in with a flat skid can be a little difficult. Alright, now the uppers are on. I'll take the drive shaft back off. Get the roller started. I probably booted all my screws. Alright, so there is the rear axle assembly, and it looks like it doesn't like having the bent lower links there. So the lower links might need to change. Keep going, see if we have the same issue in the front. If not, I'm probably going to have to go back to the stock skid to run high clearance links, or go to straight lower links in order to run the flat skid with this setup. Same thing with the drive shaft again too. Screws are so small. Just over here struggling, sorry. But I guess that's why you gotta test all this stuff to see what's compatible with what. So drive shaft's on, get these lower links mounted up, and check the fitment. I guess I hadn't considered the flat skid being a problem with the high clearance links. Alright, so there's the front axle complete, and it does look like it's running into the same issue. So probably gonna have to take parts off this one and go ahead and pull this stock skid and get that mounted up, which is a bummer, but then the flat skid can go on that one. since this runs the running boards, I guess having the flat skid is maybe a little pointless since the skids are actually lower, or the sliders are lower. But yeah, so I guess I'll tear this back apart. But it's good to know that that electronics tray fits, and then the battery tray will go in there. But yeah, that's why these are prototypes and not production models yet. Just got to see what fits together and what doesn't. But I think I'd rather have the high clearance links than the flat skid. So I'll go ahead and get these off. And then also testing on this, we're going to be trying out the 40 mil Endura shocks. So the shock towers are moved forward more to give it a little more articulation. So there's one unit kind of taken apart, and then the battery tray will slide into this key like that. And then here's kind of like the mock-up model. This is unfinished titanium. And then these I oxidized earlier, so they have a little of the bluing. Look pretty cool. But it's basically going to undo everything I just did. All right, we'll start back from 0 here. That one looks pretty cool. And then I'll have to pull out the stock skid on prototype number 1. As I'm throwing screws everywhere. I'll get the transmission out here. But yeah, if you guys got any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. Have something to talk about here other than me struggling with this learning experience. Never know till you have a physical item in your hand. But the good news is the stock skid should go in a lot easier. And actually on this first prototype, it's probably a better option to run with a flat skid because I have more link mounting options. All right, stock skid removed from the parts chassis there. And then be able to get that mounted up with the side skirt or the rock slider. All right, so now we should be cruising. Let's see, pop the transmission off. Alright, so for anyone watching, the OGRC flat skid does not work with high clearance links. Just learned that the hard way. But this one, the stock skid, looks like it will work. Yeah, no issues there. Alright, so moving in the right direction now. So we have the Endura helical cut transmission, the 50-turn motor, and the stock skid bolted right up. And now to get these high clearance links on to see if that's going to all be compatible with this. We'll do one axle at a time here. Alright, so don't use that skid with high clearance links. Straight links only. And then start here again with the rear axle. Probably just take the drive shaft off again, get it out of the way. And sometimes that's just the learning experience with aftermarket parts. And now you guys get to see me struggle twice. Brittany Howe, heck yeah, I love rock crawlers. We have some great rock crawling local to me. So it's not only drift cars that I'm building, but now these little ones. They're a blast just with how many aftermarket parts there are available. and why I'm making my own chassis for them. It's part of having fun and learning, playing with them, getting outside. So interested to see how this second version compares to the first version I designed, with the idea of being able to use a longer shock, a little more articulation, maybe a little more performance for the old Lexus GX470 here. All right, upper links. I put one upper link to a lower link. Silly mistake right there. Trying to rush to make up for the time I lost. All right, struggle bus. Now we're getting somewhere, and to get those lower links on. Probably gonna have to take these rock sliders off. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Kind of standard procedure. But the good news is this should be a dialed machine once it's built. Of course I say that now. Probably have an issue with every step along the way here. But if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. Designing their own chassis, that is. I know there are quite a few with these smaller rigs, and I designed one for the Vanquish BRD previously. I run that on my 10th scale. But these smaller ones with smaller screws can be a lot more difficult. Alright, we have the lower links on after a bit of struggling. And we have articulation. So I can get the drive shaft on and then I guess throw some shocks on, keep it in place. Move on to the front. Get some shocks here. Hope none of these screws go running. Then at least I can check the shock geometry. The problem with the first chassis I designed was that the 40 mil shocks here were a little too long, lifted up the CG more than I really wanted them to. But it looks like I can get the chassis all the way down there, which is nice. Man, these little screws are giving me hell. Seems like something might be skewed here. Okay, next. So cool, the whole process. Building and testing. Yeah, I'm definitely testing here. Nothing is a set art there. But Appreciate you guys tuning in. I know it's not the most exciting live stream, but I think once I get some of this difficult stuff done, it will start coming along a little easier. Yeah, what's up, Doug? Thanks for tuning in, man. I'm glad you like that chassis. I'm super stoked on these things. But there's the rear axle and shocks mounted, so I still have another hole forward I can go and get that axle all the way tucked up into the chassis. And then the electronics tray looks like it's just hitting the motor wire, so I won't do it live, but may file that down just a little for clearance. And then on to the front axle now. So let's see, start with the upper links probably. I probably should have put the links on the chassis and then put them on the axle after, but quick swap. Trying this left-handed too. Yeah. Nothing wants to go my way right now. Of course, the one time I decide to go live, we have some problems, but hey, should be cool when it's done. Got one upper link. Actually, maybe get this battery tray in here before I tighten everything up. You go link on axle first too. I'm having a heck of a time getting this in, but we're getting somewhere now. Upper links are all on now. Then I'll have to take the drive shaft off again, of course. Melissa wants to go. Here we go. Try and get this drive shaft phased. And then doing it live. Oh. It's being a little you know what. Nope, not phased right. I'm off one tooth. Gotta phase your drive shaft. There we go. Drive shaft on, lower links next. Still new to the hobby, learning something new every day. Yeah, YouTube tutorials, you can learn a lot. I still learn something every day on YouTube, anytime I have a question. So what's great about YouTube, all the answers at your fingertips. All right, one lower link. We're picking up steam now, boys. All right. Lower links on. And we can articulate. It's not a flex master, but it's on there. So I'm going to see if my little keyed battery tray will slide in. Yep, that went in easy. Oh, charge it. All right, clears the drive shaft. Very nice. Throw the front bumper on just to hold everything together. Still using the stock Lexus GX front bumper. I like how it centers the body. But since I'm doing all these upgrades, I think I might switch to a magnet mount on the front, since it's still the hinge mount on the rear. Just makes it easier to change batteries, pop on and off. But since I designed this chassis to have all the factory mounting locations, these bumpers should just key right in, and that will help hold the battery tray keys in there. So the idea here being low CG and factory mounting options. You can tell my drive shaft doesn't want to droop away too far, it keeps getting stuck. What tires do I prefer? I don't have enough knowledge on tires on this scale, but on my 10th scale, I love the BFG crawlers and then the Trepadors. On this build, I'm going with just some cheap Amazon. These are like the Proline Hyrax knockoffs, and they were like $7, so a budget-friendly option there. And then throw some shocks on here. Again, going with the Endura 40 mils for a little more flex on this. Just about to a roller here. So I think I'm going to use this little 3D printed part between the shock tower here and that's going to allow me to put a magnet from this to the body. And actually I might be able to just mount the shock right to that. Probably the better idea. All right. That came out. You need to get the rear bumper on this thing to hold that in. But yeah, there's the roller. Looks like pretty good clearances on everything. Throw the body on here so that will stay together. I don't know why it keeps pulling apart. Oh, and then the rock sliders. Probably do those really quick. They kind of help support this body. The rear tray, still sliding out. Might have to make that one wider. Or I need a brace in between the shock towers there, two to hold it together. But get these wires out of the way. Yeah, the wheelbase lines up. Put the bumper on. Probably help if it's the right way. Yeah, can't wait to see it crawling. Do you have a site for ordering? No. I do have a website, shredcraftrc.com, but I don't have orders open yet. These are prototypes. So in the future, I may open it up to orders, but for now, I'm just kind of selling them to local friends. That way, if there's an issue with anything, I can handle it directly rather than having someone blast me online for them maybe not having an understanding that these are test pieces. So right now, so yeah, there's the body on, and then it looks like I may have to work on the body mount a little bit to get that working all correctly. But let me see here, that bumper screwed in again all around. Go for a longer bite. Oh, interesting. It's worth threading in. Maybe I stripped the plastic, taking it in and out so much. All right. Yeah, and if you want to see this rig crawling, I have a video coming out on my channel here tomorrow morning, and I kind of go over how I designed these chassis and the things I think about and how I do it on the computer, just in case other people want to give it a shot themselves or see my design process. But there is some pretty cool running footage of this thing up at our local crawling spot. Some really cool, like, red rocks. Looks like you're crawling on the moon. Let's see what this guy looks like with wheels and tires on it. Thought these T37 reps looked pretty rad. because who doesn't like a T37? Especially on a Lexus, right? It's kind of suiting. I didn't want to make this thing look like an outrageous crawler, but kind of somewhat realistic. All right, let's see if we get you guys a good shot. So yeah, definitely a lot more wheel travel now. But that bronze and silver looks super cool, in my opinion. Everyone's different. They have the way more flex than the factory plastic shocks. But yeah, not a bad looking rig there. Could probably play with the front shock positionings and stuff like that, but you guys will get the overall idea here. And then battery will mount here, probably with just some Velcro. And then I have my Endura MB100 ESC here. This is going to mount to the electronics tray that I got. Maybe something like that. And then my FlySky Noble receiver. And maybe next to that, I could probably get them both in on there. But probably not going to do that on camera just because I'm a big nerd when it comes to doing clean wiring, and I want to clean up a few of these things, but I hope it gives you a good idea on still looking somewhat factory here. Yeah, the front does look like it could come down a little bit, but I have another shock mounting point there in the rear. Yeah, it looks like it's a little reverse raked. The rear tucks up to the fender pretty nice, but the front probably has still a little room. And I did have to cut the bumper just so it can still turn. It looks like it might hit the rear there. I could file a little away, but and the rear's drooping out quite a bit more. So I'll have to play with all the positioning. That's really when you get into tuning and stuff, especially once the electronics are in and a battery is in. And if you guys check out my video tomorrow morning, it will be on my YouTube channel here. But I go into those specifics of weight distribution and weight balance, and I use my scales to try and optimize all the positionings of moving as much weight forward as I can. So that's why the battery will be mounted up here, along with previously I had a decased ESC on this one, and trying to get as much weight forward as possible, especially since this is a pretty top heavy body for an SCX24. It's a hard body. It's not a Lexan body, but we did just paint up this body for my wife, and that is what I'm going to build this other chassis for. But this is the Endura Bug. Still has the protective covering on it, but it's a pretty cool like mustard gold. And then I painted the engine bay black, and then I'll probably detail some of that stuff up with a Sharpie or some nail polish or something like that. But that's that'll be another video coming up on the channel, is getting this set up on that other chassis. And it was pretty cool because that one came with this roll cage that'll go inside. This thing's all taken apart right now, of course, but I'll have that thing all built up, and then we'll go run these things together and get some running footage of it. But it's cool to see that all those mounting locations and stuff worked on this. So probably in the future I will have these available, but I want to make sure everything's refined and ready to go to the general public, just because, especially if someone's brand new and just starting out, I really don't want them to have a bad experience putting one of these together or have any issues with it. So I'd like to refine a few things. But overall, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that looks, how that came out. So I think that's gonna do it for me on this one, but I just want to say thank you guys all for tuning in. That was, a little bit of a struggle bus session for me there, but had some fun chatting with you guys, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the build. Make sure to come check out my channel tomorrow morning. I will have the running footage of this out on the rocks, along with talking about some specifics of weight distribution and weight balance and some of the DIY mods I did. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.